Hi there. Welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get to host you here on the podcast. And before we dive into today's content and the practical help you're going to get for your business, I'm going to briefly introduce myself in case we're new friends. Now, as I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners like yourself to ditch the overwhelm, get the clarity they've been craving, and grow their business in a way that meets their definition of success. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you as well. All that I do, friends, is so that you as an equestrian entrepreneur can be out in the barn or the arena or behind the camera lens or behind the computer or in the store, wherever it is that you are serving the equine industry. I want to help you do more of that. And so here on the podcast especially, you'll get a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you not only see what's possible for your business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And today we are doing that by way of standing out from the competition. So, as I said, we do a bit of a mix of strategy and mindset shifts. And so before we even dive in to the practical side, I want to address a few things about this idea of competition. First, what am I saying when I say stand out from the competition? Essentially, I mean other businesses who are doing similar things to what you're doing, right? You're kind of competing, not kind of, you are. You're competing for dollars from somebody who's making a decision and you want to stand out and be the one they want to pick. And let's be honest, competition is normal and it's not bad. I think it's important to address that competition is real. You want and need to stand out in order to build a profitable, sustainable equine business. And competition has the power to make us better if we use it as the right fuel. But if we are not careful, competition can very quickly turn into comparison. And that can be very dangerous. So before we talk about standing out from the competition, and we will, and I will give you some ways to do that, I want to first address two things that we need to take care of so that we don't let competition turn into comparison. Number one, I want to remind you and help you to shift your mindset around competition to understand there truly is room for everyone when it comes to your business. Now, granted, I know that it varies greatly depending on what you're doing and what this looks like. But if you have a mindset that says it is scarce, money is scarce, clients and customers are scarce, there's not enough, so I need to scrounge, I need to hold on tightly to what I have, and anyone who might come my way, then that is going to impact how you build your business. It's going to impact how you view competition, and it's going to impact your marketing overall. Now, I actually have a podcast episode related to this that I would love you to check out if you have not yet listened to my conversation with Jamie Samples. The title is The Power of Choosing Collaboration Over Competition, and it's episode number 154. I will make sure and link to that in the show notes for you for today's episode. So just so that you know, for every episode, I have show notes. And if you go to stormlily.com/180 for today, 180, that's podcast number 180. So for every podcast episode, I'll tell you the number and you can get the show notes there quickly. So if you want to listen to Jamie, you go to stormlily.com/154 for episode 154. Okay, so there's that information. I'll link to that in the show notes. Back to this idea. Okay, so Jamie and I talked about how she embraces and encourages such a collaborative mindset. She's a fellow marketer in the equestrian space, and she's been doing it longer than I have. And she could have gotten really frustrated that somebody like me was coming into her space when I first started, and she didn't. Instead, she embraced me. She became a quick encourager and somebody I could ask questions to. And it's because of that mindset that I asked her to be on that episode. Because the reality is, while she and I do very similar things, we don't do the exact same thing always. We have different offerings. We do very similar things though. But there's enough space for both of us. Some of you have probably worked with Jamie. I maybe have sent some of you to Jamie, and some of you have worked with me, and some of you may have worked with both, because the reality is you have different needs at different times, and you connect with different types of people, different teaching styles, different communication styles, different coaching styles, different copywriting, and that's okay because there's room for both. And so in your business and the area of the industry that you serve, you might have this feeling of, I've got to hold on to everything because it's scarce. But if you can open yourself up to consider that there is enough room for you and there's enough room for everyone, and that if you do your work well, the right people are going to come to you, and that's what's going to bring you the joy, then it's going to open up so much more opportunity. And it's going to make it even more enjoyable for you as you build your business. And it's going to make you more fun to be around. Let's be honest. All right. That's the first mindset shift. Mindset shift number 2. Okay. I want you to embrace this idea that you are on your own path. Why does this matter? Because as we look at this idea of competition shifting and turning into comparison, what often happens is you start to feel like you're falling behind. You're not where you should be. That's the lie that quickly creeps in, especially in this day and age where we have access to essentially see the peaks and parts of what people want us to see in their business. And it makes us feel like we're falling behind and we're not where we should be, and we expect it to be further along. And the reality is you are on your own path. You're not falling behind. You are where you're supposed to be on your path in your season of life and business. Now, it is normal, okay, let me just tell you this, it is normal to get stuck or drawn into this comparison cycle, okay? Whether you're comparing yourself to others in terms of the way they're building their business, you're comparing yourself to their pricing, you're comparing yourself to the offerings that they have, to the types of clients they have, the numbers of clients they have, the types of horses they're training, the number of people that are in their program, all of those things. And 100%, it's in our nature, okay, to see that and have that instant, like, comparison, okay? And social media has absolutely amplified what was already there. So social media did not create this issue, okay? People have been comparing themselves to others for years and years and years, okay? But 100%, social media has amplified that for us because that's right there in our face if we choose to let it be. But really what it comes down to, this idea of falling behind, is this idea of not being secure, okay? When you start to compare and you feel like you're falling behind, it comes down to a lack of security. Because the people who are not comparing, the people that I have met who have essentially conquered this, okay? I'd say everybody has had to deal with it, but the people who I've met who have essentially conquered it are not comparing because they're secure in who they are and what it is they are doing. Okay. And when they are secure in that, they can look at somebody else and they can cheer for them. And they can look at somebody else and say, your win is not my loss. It's your win. And I celebrate that. That's totally different, right? And you can do that when you're secure. You can also do that when you have clarity. When there is a lack of clarity in your business, then you're not going to be focused on your version of success. You're going to be looking to the left and to the right to try to figure out what is everybody else saying that success is or should be. And then you follow after that. And that creates insecurity, doesn't it? But instead, if you have clarity on what success is to you, if you have clarity on where you are headed and how you're going to get there and the freedom that you have in that, then you're not going to be struggling with this idea of competition turning into comparison because you're in your own lane. And that's why in Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program, that's where we start. We start with what is success for you. Let's define that now. Because as we get into social media planning, as we get into your website, as we get into email marketing, you're going to start looking at what other people are doing. And you're going to start feeling like you need to do what XYZ business is doing. And you're going to start seeing all these ideas, or you're going to start having a lot of really good ideas that you want to run with. And I'm going to take you back and say, let's go back and see if this definition of success is still true to you. And if it is, that's our filter for these decisions. Okay. So it's so important. And that will help keep you from feeling like you're falling behind because you have your version of success, right? Because otherwise, comparison, it fuels our insecurity and it keeps us from taking action. It takes our eyes off of the prize, which is your version of success. So this second mindset shift is so very important, friends. I want you to know that you are not falling behind. You are just in a season that's for you and your business. You are on your path, whether you've been doing it for 10 years, 20 years, or 2 years. All right? Okay, so that being said, now that we've taken care of these two very important pieces and parts of the puzzle when it comes to competition, let's address from a marketing perspective, you still need and want to stand out from your competition. That is normal and necessary when it comes to your marketing. Why? Because you want the right people to know that you exist. You want the right people to know what you stand for, what your philosophy is, what you excel at, the difference that you are making in the lives of horses and riders and owners, and how and why your potential clients and customers should work with you. That's important when it comes to standing out from the competition. And that's where marketing comes in. And when you do it well, you're going to stand out from the crowd and make it easier for those right fit people to find you and work with you. Now, in previous podcast episodes, you've heard me talk about creating content that meets people where they're at in the buyer's journey. Okay, it's something we've talked about a few different times. And they essentially go, okay, here's your super quick snapshot in the buyer's journey. They're going from awareness of the problem to consideration of the solutions to decision of what they're actually going to buy to solve that problem. Okay, that is the very quick synopsis. So when you create content, we're meeting them in those 3 phases of the journey. And so when they're making their decision, when they're in the decision-making phase, this is where today's episode falls in, because your job is to stand out as they are considering the competition and making that decision. And your job through your content is to help them decide if you are the right fit for them. That's how you're going to stand out from the competition. So let me remind you, today's show notes will have these 4 practical ways and these mindset shifts outlined for you. So if you go to stormlily.com/180, you can go and grab those. And I'll also link to a podcast episode where we talk about the buyer's journey so that you can dive deeper into that if you would like. But for now, let's dive into 4 powerful ways that you can stand out from the competition in your horse business. Number 1, own what makes you different. If you are comparing your services, your website, or your social media posts to what everyone else is doing, as we've already addressed, it is easy to lose confidence. But here's what I want you to know. Your uniqueness is your superpower. Whether it's your approach to horse care or horse training or photography or light or bodywork, the things that you do, or the way that you connect with clients or your personal background and experience, there is something about you and your business that no one else can replicate. And if you want to stand out from the competition, I want you to own that. Own what makes you different and unique. The right clients and customers are going to choose you for who you are, not just what you do. Okay. And so when it comes to standing out from the competition, figure out what makes you unique and then stand in it. So how do you do that? Okay. My homework to you on this is to ask some of your best clients and customers why they chose you. What it is that makes them continue to come back to you. Why did they buy? You can ask this as a post-purchase question. You can ask this as a just conversational question. But find out from the people that have actually purchased why they chose you. Because what they tell you is going to be some of the best marketing gold that you can use. It's going to be better than what you could write on your own because it's in their words. And so more of those people are going to come to you. Okay, so number 1, I want you to own what makes you and your business different. The second way you're going to stand out from your competition is to narrow down your niche. I know, you're saying, Denise, I don't think I can do that. Or Denise, you keep talking about this, but it's really hard. And it's because it's so important. It is not the magic formula, but I will tell you the biggest problem I see when it comes to marketing content and copy from horse businesses is the broad nature. One of the fastest ways that you can get lost in the crowd and blend in with your competition is to try to appeal to everyone. Your message will be too broad and it will not connect. But instead, I want you to think about who you are best suited to serve and get to know them deeply. Be willing to niche down. And it may be niching down in discipline. It may be niching down in season of life. It may be niching down in season of business or lifetime of, or the season for the horse, like the age of the horse even. That could be an area. It could be the season or the mindset. Okay. It may be that you need to niche down into the mindset of people. So for example, some of you all, and I've worked with some who have a holistic mindset around horse care, okay? Meaning you want to go outside of conventional medicine that's really important to you. Doesn't mean you don't use it, but you're saying like, I start with a really holistic view. We're not just going to go straight to, straight to the injections, okay? For example, all right? So in that case, in your marketing, then it's your responsibility to communicate that is somebody you're best suited to work with. You're best suited to work with the people who have a similar mindset around horse care that you do. It does not mean that what you do couldn't help all of the horses in the world or all of the riders in the world, all of the horse owners, okay? But the people that are going to buy from you are the ones that have that similar wavelength. And so you need to speak to those needs, to those goals, to that mindset in your marketing. That's part of narrowing down your niche, okay? So remember, the clearer your message, the easier it is for your right people to recognize that you are the one for them. So the second way you're going to stand out is you're going to be very clear in your messaging and you're going to narrow down who you are for and then communicate that. The third way you're going to stand out from the competition is to focus on value, not volume. Here's what this means, especially when it comes to content creation. This is where we're honing in on, okay? When you're saying, I need to stand out from the competition, so I think I need to post 5 times a day because I saw so-and-so posting 5 times a day, or 5 times a day, that's a lot, right? 5 times a week. Just because that's what they're doing doesn't mean that's what's going to work for you. 100%. Consistency matters. You have heard me preach that for a long time now. But quality is more important than quantity. Okay, that doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but it does mean I would rather see you put out 3 posts in a week that are more geared toward building your business than 5 posts that are really random and you were just trying to check it off of a list. Okay, those are not going to help you meet your goals, and they're not going to help you stand out from the competition. So I want you to evaluate your content. Are you just focused on checking things off the list and getting something out there? Are you just focused on getting an email out the door? Or are you focused on getting content in there that's going to turn the right people into your customers? That's going to help them to see how you're different and then invite them to buy. Invite them to book that discovery call. Invite them to come for an initial lesson. Invite them to whatever that first step is. Your content should be aimed at getting the right people in the door, the ones that are going to become your buyers. Okay, so do not focus on views. Do not focus on going viral in order to build a sustainable business. You need to show up with purpose and intention, okay? So before you create, stop and think about that. Okay, do I have an intention? Do I have a purpose behind this content? Is this helping people to build trust in me? Is it helping people to have a conversation with me? Is it helping people to take the next step in working with me in my business? Okay, it doesn't have to be complicated. I promise you, there are some really simple posts that you can do. For example, I have a client who does like a couple pictures, and she'll say like, what can you see in the difference in these 2 pictures between, pre-session, post-session? Tell me what you see. She's inviting conversation. That didn't take her 20 minutes to write that caption. She's inviting conversation. And then the next day she can say, okay, here's what I saw, here's what I experienced, and it becomes education. And so you can see how that type of content, it's probably not going to go viral, but it's definitely going to help get those right people in the door, and it's going to help set you up as an expert. It's going to help invite them to call you to work with you. Okay. And that's what's going to help you stand out from the competition, because I will tell you, by and large, that's not what horse businesses are doing. Okay. So when you do this, you're going to stand out from the competition. Number 4, build a brand, not just a business. Here's what I mean by this. When someone visits your website or sees your social media, are they getting a feel for who you are in your business and what it's like to work with you? That's branding. branding goes far beyond just your logo and your brand colors. A strong brand makes people actually feel something. A strong brand is clear and consistent and real. And so your photos, your words, your emails, even your stall signs, even the signs on your property, even your welcome kit to customers or whatever it might be that you're creating, all of that is your branding. And it's the experience that people have with you. It's not just throwing up a sign and saying, "We are in business." It's about creating an experience. And so as you do that, as you build a brand by creating an experience, you 100% are going to stand out from your competition. And as I said before, that does not mean that I'm saying you downplay what other people are doing. But what I am saying is there are people that want the experience that you are providing. And when you make that known and when you make that, when you market that well and you invite people in and they have a great experience, you are going to stand out. Okay. All right. So those are 4 powerful ways, friends, that if you do this in your equine business, you will stand out from the competition. You will bring in the right people. I want to remind you, competition is not a bad word, and having competition does not have to be scary. You don't need to shout louder. You don't need to slash your prices in order for people to see you. You do need to confidently and consistently show up as you and as your business and be clear and focused and committed to serving your people well. And when you do that, then you're going to stand out. Now, let me give you one little bonus tip that this idea came up as I was putting this together is what do you do when someone copies you? Okay. So I actually have had a client who had this problem and people were copying some of her work, her marketing work. And so, man, isn't that frustrating? Can you imagine putting so much effort and time into something and then turning around and somebody is copying what you've done and trying to replicate it to build their own business? Now, it's what I want to remind you of is, and I know you know this, if you're here listening to me, like I just have a feeling I know you and you're going to get frustrated, but you're not going to go do something stupid like screenshot it and post it on social media and say, this is so frustrating and call them out in that way. Okay, because you're going to operate in integrity. So because of that, what I want to encourage you to do is to continue to innovate. Do not be afraid to call people out in a kind and respectful way privately, 100%. But when it comes to your marketing, okay, I want you to continue to innovate. They cannot copy your voice and your connection and the experience that you provide. So it is frustrating, but remember, even if initially the person that copies you gets people that reach out to them and gets some inquiries, I guarantee you that if someone is copying your work, then they're not copying the experience because they can't. And they may not even have the wherewithal to back up the promises they are making because you've made those promises because you know that you can provide them. Okay? So continue to innovate, continue to trust that there is enough. And yes, 100%. Call people out when necessary, privately and with integrity and respectfully, because that's the type of business owner that you are. And then continue to lean into the brand that you have created, the experience you have created, the stories that you are sharing about people's experience working with you, because they cannot replicate the stories. They cannot replicate the testimonials because those are people's experience working with you. Okay? All right. So friends, I hope this was so helpful to you. I want to remind you, my encouragement is that you stop watching what your competitors are doing and instead start focusing on showing fully up as you and yourself. Okay. And if you need some help with that process, if you're like, Denise, I'm just not sure what's unique about what I'm doing. My messaging is not clear, or I'm really having a hard time standing out, then I invite you to apply for Take the Reins one-on-one coaching. I would love to help coach you through this process. I have a framework that I will walk you through, a step-by-step framework. We will start with what is success to you, and then we're going to build a marketing strategy that helps you to share your story, your experience, what's unique about you, and get more of the right people in the door through your social media, through your website, through your email marketing, and any other marketing methods that you are wanting to work through. It's going to come back to that idea of having clear messaging, a clear audience. And that's what we do through one-on-one coaching. Okay. So if that interests you, I invite you to apply anytime. You can go to stormlily, LILY.com/reigns. And there you can find more information about my coaching program and you can apply. And the reason there's an application process is because I limit the number of one-on-one coaching clients I have at a time so I can work in that personalized support that I love to provide you. And so that we can make sure that I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for the program. So you start with the application and then we will get on a Zoom call together. And so you can ask any questions you have. I want to get to know you and your story and your goals for your business. And then from there, we start with our calls. Okay. So jump on to stormlily.com/reigns and check out one-to-one coaching so I can help you in this process of standing out from the competition and building a sustainable equine business. And then you know what I'm going to say. Take one thing you've learned today and apply that in your horse business. That's my goal for you. If you listen to this podcast and you take no action, you will see no results. But if you will listen to this podcast and take one thing and begin to apply that in your equine business, and you do it every time you listen, you will see results. Okay? Fruit will come from that labor. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have an amazing day and continue to join me here every week as I bring you practical, helpful, strategic advice for your equine business. See you next time.